Welcome to the WWE podcast here on this Sunday, August 16th, 2026, as I record this from an undisclosed location. As you may notice, my voice and, at least the mic quality isn't quite what it used to be, but hopefully on my computer here, it's sufficient for the show tonight. I'll be back in my regularly scheduled studio coming up for the Raw review on Tuesday. So wanted to address that up front, but hope you guys are enjoying the weekend or did enjoy the weekend as we roll through August and get closer to a Saturday night's main event, get closer to Money in the Bank, get closer to Major League Baseball playoffs, get closer to the start of the NFL season. Preseason's underway. Everything's about to overlap, and you're having a sports frenzy right now if you are interested in such things. And we've got a lot to talk about tonight, as we had an eventful SmackDown, and I'll be covering a lot of that show as Amanda has been on a bit of a hiatus, and so she will return shortly. But in the meantime, this is a week in review / SmackDown review for last Friday night, and let's get to it. As on SmackDown, it came to us from the TD Garden, and we had weekly walk-ups with Carmelo and Corbin and Stratton and Punk and Fatal Influence. And speaking of Punk, I've got a bit of a rant if you're interested in such things, because this is largely, I think, going to be a fairly positive review. Because I think WWE, at least for the last week and a half, 2 weeks now, has turned the corner since their disastrous segment with Danhausen and the Mini-Hausens and everything else. And it wasn't just that, but it kind of peaked at that moment. And since then, they've really put forth some really good creative, I think, generally. Not on all cases, but we will end with a rant that I've been kind of keeping in. And I may even make a video when I'm back at my office about this, because it's so egregiously horrible. It's about Punk, and no, it's not about his political affiliations or anything like that, but we'll talk about it at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. But we had, on SmackDown, we had Nick Aldis in the ring. He's going to address the Chelsea Green injury and said he had come to an agreement with WWE Medical, and Aldis told her, as she comes out, that he knows how hard she's worked and how much that moment meant to her, and he said he can't in good conscience allow her to compete. And Chelsea begged him not to say what he was about to say, and Aldis said he hates this part of his job, but he needs to relinquish her WWE Women's Championship. And she obviously was disappointed, and she said that every accomplishment in her career has been followed by a tragedy. But she said she was always the perfect opponent for the other girls, but never the champion. She was always the best opponent for the other girls, and recalled throwing herself in dumpsters, her face into pies and cakes, and breaking bones to achieve her dreams. And she compared her situation to Nick's, and how they both had proven that it didn't matter that what they, quote, thought of them. It matters what we think of ourselves. She said as far as she's concerned, the title was hers until someone took it from her. So he reneges on his decision regarding taking the belt from her. And the crowd loves it. Chelsea loves it. Chelsea got a lot of flowers in the TD Garden. They really showed some love for Chelsea in a way that I don't think the crowd has since she won the championship at SummerSlam. So we had... then Gunther come out. He interrupts, and he tells Aldis that it was time to get on to other business that people actually cared about. God, he's great. And then Chelsea looked offended and demanded Aldis, meaning Gunther, demanded that Aldis tell him why he inserted Kevin Owens in his match at SummerSlam. Aldis told him that he put Gunther in Owens' match, and that they had been negotiating with KO for his return for months, and it wasn't his fault. KO couldn't get the job done. So Chelsea said that it was a good burn, and Gunther told Chelsea to shut up, and they got into it. And she then asked if she hurt his fragile little male ego. And, of course, the feminist that she is, I mean, that's a whole nother issue. But moving on, Gunther then ended up trying to insult Chelsea and say that, you know what, I could say anything I want to your wife and you're not going to say anything. I could call her every slur in the book and you're not going to do anything. So Cardona backs down. And that Gunther then said that every good dog listens to its owner, and that's what sent Matt Cardona over the edge. He attacks Gunther, and it sets up for a match. So before we get there, two things. The stipulation about Chelsea getting 30 days to heal up is a good one. It's practical. It's one that you don't often see implemented. And I don't know where this 30 days is coming from. If it's in the WWE rule book that you had to suddenly defend your championship every 30 days, well, Liv Morgan overstayed that by about 3 times the limit. She should have been stripped of the championship. So I'm not sure if that's what they're implying. But this 30-day rule kind of comes and goes as they need it to. Not so much a complaint as it is. It's just kind of pro wrestling. They use the rules when it really benefits the story. They pretend they don't exist when it hurts the story. So it kind of is what it is, but it's funny they brought back a 30-day rule. It's reasonable, however. It makes sense. And I think she will obviously heal up. They wouldn't have kept the belt on her if they felt that she couldn't actually adhere to this 30 days. All right, so we then have the match, Cardona and Gunther, and the match didn't last long, with Gunther getting a submission victory on Cardona after hitting him on back-to-back power bombs and got a Boston Crab. So good win for Gunther. He could not have lost to Matt Cardona. There's just no way. I know he's out there to defend the honor of his wife, but Cardona does not get a good pop. The Zack Ryder woo stuff, that's long over. I know he's graduated to Matt Cardona, but Matt Cardona is not getting much of a reaction. In fact, I would argue that Gunther is and kind of was the babyface in that matchup, simply because the fans don't have much of a connection with Matt Cardona. I wouldn't say he's a jobber, all right? I mean, that's kind of an outdated, overused term today, but I think that he's maybe a step or two above that in terms of how they've positioned him. I don't think this is the end of it, though. We could see a more of this this kind of mini feud for Gunther and Cardona continue for the next couple of weeks. But let's move on. And the other thing I was going to say, with Chelsea having to suddenly talk about how Gunther has a frail male ego or something, I mean, that's kind of more of the point I'm going to bring up later regarding CM Punk. A clip has gone viral that happened at a show, not on a main roster show, but we'll talk about that with him and a female star. But this is just more of the same from the WWE that's been going on even before the TKO buyout, and it's just been the fact that the women are allowed to dress down the men. They're allowed to attack the men. The men can't do anything. The women say they can hold their own, but yet they have their husbands or boyfriends who end up fighting their battles anyway, but the women still get cheap shots and it's viewed as okay, but the men can't retaliate. It's ridiculous. And again, that's a theme I'm going to return to at the end of the show here. So moving on here to get through some SmackDown, we had the Irresistible Forces come down, and Nia Jax told Chelsea Green that she was a ticking clock and she wanted the women's championship, and said that if she doesn't get what she wants, she has a history of breaking faces around here. And that's when Tiffany Stratton came out to a decent pop, I have to say. And she was then beaten down by Legend and Jax. And obviously, with the injury to Chelsea, she can't do anything but sit around and watch. And we had another match later in the night that was pretty consequential. We'll get to that momentarily. So We then had some video recaps of Tatum Paxley, a video recap of Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, their confrontation last week. And we then had, after that, Cody Rhodes asking Nick Aldis to get him a match with Orton on paper. And Aldis proposed Saturday night's main event coming up in Atlanta. And Rhodes said whenever. And he turned around to Sami Zayn, who was there. And of course, he whines about Cody being the golden boy and getting whatever he wanted. He had to earn a shot in a fatal four-way, but Cody just has to say when. I mean, he does have some points, guys. Like, Sami Zayn was screwed out of the championship after being champion for, 8-9 days. Gets put in a fatal four-way to somehow have to earn his rematch, even though he shouldn't have to. Is then changed from a one-on-one with him and Finn Balor to a fatal four-way that added Gunther and Kevin Owens. And then he continually is not afforded an opportunity. He does have some, like it or not, I mean, his character does have a hell of an argument to be made to say, hey, I wasn't given a fair shake on my rematch. I'm owed this. But again, and all Cody has to say is when. But Cody told him he used to allow him to walk up and filibuster because of their previous friendship, but he was tired of his whining, so if he wanted to do something about it, then he should. And Zayn said the last time they were in the ring, he pinned him clean for the championship, and Cody questioned whether he could do it again tonight. And Zayn said he was hurt, and Zayn said he couldn't, but Aldis said he was hurt at SummerSlam. And he made the choice to compete. So if he competes tonight and he wins, he would face the winner of Punk and KO. So that match obviously has some consequence to it, some weight to it, and we will talk about the outcome there that will continue to further the Sami Zayn dissension into insanity. But I do wonder what the end game is here. We're headed down a rabbit hole with Sami, but I don't know what their end game is with him. Very bizarre. Okay, Corbin and Carmelo Hayes for the United States Championship. This match went 9 minutes with Baron Corbin beating Carmelo Hayes clean. And it ended when Carmelo Hayes was shoved off the top rope. He didn't hit the barricade, although Wade Barrett said he hit his chin on it. He was like a foot from it, but okay, Baron. Or Wade. So Corbin then hits End of Days and gets the victory. That's it. I mean, Baron Corbin flat out beats Carmelo Hayes. I like that. You don't have to have a heel cheat to win every single time. And then after the match, Trick Williams appeared on stage, and Little Yachty appeared behind Corbin, hits him with a kendo stick, but he no-sells it. And then Corbin turns around, and Trick snuck in the ring and hits a trick shot. So kind of heelish stuff here from Trick, but it is what it is, I guess. So the match, I think, was good. A good match, good win for Corbin. I would like for him to get some mic time. Same with Trick Williams. Not a lot of verbal build on this program. I would want to hear from Corbin. I feel like we haven't heard much of what he's back for, what his goals are. He's a good talker. So, Kevin Owens comes out. And before he could speak, Punk's music played. And Punk said, Owens is a lot of things, but a coward isn't one of them. And he said he can go ahead and say whatever he's going to say to his face. And then he then said his great to be alive garbage, which, I mean, it's something that MJF pointed out back in AEW when Punk first returned to wrestling in AEW. And it's just so robotic and pandering, where MJF said, it's great to be alive, and insert name of city. It's the same thing over and over. I know he wants to have a thing with every crowd to be able to say their city name to get a pop. I get it. I don't know. I just haven't been a fan. However, I know The Rock had it too. Finally, The Rock has come back to X city. That fit his character a little bit more. Punk's feels a little bit, I don't know. I could be off base here. It's not my favorite thing in the world. But back to the substance of this promo. Owens said he was surprised that he was talking about saying things to his face since he waited until he was off camera last week to call him something like a fat slob. Punk asked if he thinks he would be afraid to say that to his face, and Owens says no. He recalled a confrontation that happened 20 years ago in an independent promotion. They had a scuff there, and Owens regrets not punching Punk in the face. And he said that he's the same guy he was 20 years ago, and he's standing in the ring with Punk competing for the championship. And he regretted not punching Punk in the face, but Punk dared him to do it. And Owens said, well, I waited 20 years. I can wait 7 more and then also take your championship. So the closing line was that Punk said he was going to put Kevin Owens' fat ass to sleep. I guess we're all focused on Owens' weight here. I mean, fine, I guess. Like, we all know Kevin Owens doesn't have a sculpturesque body. That's part of his appeal. I mean, part of his appeal is he doesn't look like everyone else, yet he is leaps and bounds above so many different people in the ring and on the microphone. And he has a presence that is undeniable. So, okay, yeah, sure, he's bigger, whatever. I mean, do you want to tell that to, I don't know, Andre the Giant, Big Show, Yokozuna, Rikishi? Do I go on? All these men that, yeah, some were bigger legends than others, but highly successful. I don't know. And suddenly Kevin Owens's beer belly is a problem that we're all supposed to pay attention to. Whatever. So continuing, that let me just put a bow on this promo though. I feel as though Punk is still a much more polished promo guy. There's very few who can touch him on the microphone in the ring. John Cena may be the only one that can better him. As good as Kevin Owens is, since he's not as polished, I still would give the nod to Punk in terms of who, quote unquote, won this. I think that since this felt much more like a conversation than an actual promo, it felt more real. I do believe there's true, angst between them. I feel there is actual animosity between them. Now, whether or not that's actually true, the fact that I have to wonder is a blast. The fact that I don't know if this actually is something where there's real elements to it is a blast. This doesn't feel produced, even though it is. And they are given carte blanche to go out there and cut a promo for 15 minutes where they really don't know what they're going to say to each other. This is the difference between a scripted, well-rehearsed, well-thought-out promo and two guys having a conversation that's building to a match that feels much more authentic. And it may not have the cute little punchlines and everybody says their spots nicely, and it feels like I'm watching a TV show or a movie instead of a simulated sport, or in this case, a real sport, because it is a real sport by definition. But do you see the difference between a conversation and a promo? There is a difference. There's a distinction, and you saw it here. It may not be the most blow-away segment of all time in terms of battle of the mics, but it's one that made you pay attention because it stood out just being different. The pacing, the tempo, the way they're speaking to each other. Yeah, they're breaking the fourth wall, which happens too much. But I think this one grabbed most people's attention. And that's hard to do. So, we then have a triple threat for the tag team titles, with R-Truth and Damian Priest taking on Eric and Ivar and Tala and Tama Tonga. And this match was 7 minutes. So quick. It was quick for a triple threat tag team match. And the finish was having Tama Tonga try to capitalize on Truth. And he started giving a comeback, of doing John Cena's 5 moves of doom, and Tala Tonga cut him off, landed the Brothers Keeper double power bomb, and they got the victory. Not the smoothest match in the world, largely forgettable, other than the fact that we had a title change. So they're the new tag team champions, Tama Tonga and Tala Tonga. So fine, and you had a bit of an appearance here by Haku. So pretty cool. And I have no interest, or not no interest, but I have no objections to this tag team title change. This is something that I think, I don't know if it was needed, but you can kind of tell when there's no plans for a team or an individual as champion. And that seemed to be the case here with Damian Priest and R-Truth. Fun little tag team for the moment, but ultimately, it needed to change owners. Especially if you're not going to do anything with the team. Okay. Tiffany Stratton, JC Jane for the Women's U.S. Championship. The match went a total, 11, 12 minutes? And JC Jane wins. Now, the finish of this, though, was quite interesting. So, we had Tiffany go for a running senton. Jane slipped out. Tiffany got a springboard stunner, which I hate. I hate not just Tiffany doing it, anyone doing it. It should not exist. She landed then a senton, went for the prettiest moonsault ever, but Jane got her knees up and rolled her up for a near fall, and that's when Fallon and Laney interfere with Chelsea on the floor, and Tiffany dove onto them, and JC hits Tiffany with a rolling encore and gets the victory. So... now, I mean, I don't hate this because I despise Tiffany Stratton just seemingly as an actual human being. At least her social media personality, if that's really who she is just so off-putting. You guys know that, how I feel. But the U.S. title also has felt kind of stale on Tiffany. Tiffany Stratton needs to kind of, if they're going to do anything with her at this point and reinvent her, they got to do this now. Why? Well, Tiffany Stratton has made it clear that she wants to go to Hollywood. She has made it clear that she does not really view wrestling as a long-term thing, and she wants to use it as a springboard to move forward. And if you're going to be the company and get the most out of her before her contract expires, then you might want to reinvent her and make her something interesting that the fans can grab onto. Because this version of Tiffany, I think, has run its course. All right. And also, JC Jane getting the championship. Hey, she's new to the scene. I don't like newcomers constantly winning big matches and big championships just to make a splash and an impact. You're devaluing the championships when you do that. As you know my thoughts, the belt should not make the person. Right? The person should make the belt. Okay. So we then had the Cody Rhodes entrance here for the main event. Oh, and Jade Cargill was interviewed backstage. I meant to say, Jade was interviewed with Meechin and BFAB, and they said that all Charlotte and Alexa have done was give them another victim. And then they called SmackDown their show. Thrilling. Invigorating. Very forward-thinking, Jade. And again, I don't really blame this on Jade, but the material is just cut, copy, paste. I mean, this is AI stuff, but... All right, so Sami Zayn comes out too, and Randy Orton attacks Rhodes before Zayn got halfway down, and they ended up brawling, and Zayn was pissed, and Orton put Rhodes in a position for a chair shot, and Cody kicked him in the nuts, and Cody turned the tables and was about to hit Randy in the head with the chair, but the officials stopped him. And again, Sami gets screwed again because the outcome of the match was undetermined. It never got started because of Randy assaulting Cody. But it also forwarded the idea that Cody Rhodes is turning darker, because the only reason he didn't pull the trigger and hit Randy in the head with a chair is because the officials stopped him. Which leads you to believe that he has kind of crossed the threshold in his mind, but it hasn't come into the physical world yet, into our eyeballs, but it's coming. I think this is, if you're looking for more evidence of a potential Cody heel turn, this is one of them. On top of, he doesn't get great reactions anymore. I mean, let's face it. He is not getting those monstrous reactions that he got 2 years ago or even a year ago. He is falling off. The company recognizes it. They're testing the waters. And I think that it's time to turn. I've been saying that for a year, but what do I know? Cody Rhodes at this point is at a crossroads, pun intended. So, all right, one quick rundown of Raw, and we'll get to my other topic, and maybe an email or two. So, let's see. On Raw, which again I thought was a good show, we had Penta beat Laredo Kid to advance in the semifinals of the tournament for a shot at the World Championship. We had Austin Theory beat Tozawa. And that was where Obafemi and Braun Breaker came face to face again. And then we had Stephanie Vaquer, who spoke in the ring, and Becky Lynch confronted her. There was that whole interaction with Morgan and Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer. And then we had Solo Sikoa and Jey Uso and the Pew Pew. We had Dominic Mysterio lose to Dragon Lee in a non-title match. We had Sol Ruca and Io Sky beat the Women's Intercontinental Champion Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne. And we had Solo Sikoa lose to Jey Uso in 12 minutes as Roman Reigns is going to appear next week, i.e. tomorrow. So, decent Raw, decent SmackDown, not a lot to really complain about there. I will in a moment, but it's not really related to Raw or SmackDown. Now, before we get there, since my mailbag was just really bizarre this week, just weird, I do want to get to, let's see here, a couple emails. And one's from Joey, and he says, I love that you enjoy the random questions. It's a fresh, nice idea for the show being a bit more than WWE. I, of course, have more Michael Cole Scenario 6, and I hope you and the listeners like this. What I'm doing. The gas station I work at is so slow sometimes. I write emails just chilling behind the counter. Speaking of listeners, I got a few of them from the past few mailbag episodes and decided to include them in this week's Michael Cole and Matt Scenarios series. I don't know anything about them, so it's all random as fuck. Here we go. You and Michael Cole are BFFs, and he gets a call from Vince McMahon, and he tells Michael to bring his best friend. There is going to be a WWE trivia game show in Texas. You and Michael Cole show up with Starbucks, excited for the show. There are 4 other teams. Myself, Joey, and Jerry Lawler show up, but I'm a huge Michael Cole fan, so I give you, Jerry, and Michael Cole... Michael Cole joins you. That's team 2. And me and Jerry, the King Lawler, are team 1. Team 3 comes in, and it's one of your calls, Curtis and JBL. Well, Curtis is up next, so funny enough. They're walking in drinking ginger ale. Team 4 arrives. It's listener Dylan and Taz. They're drinking a ginger beer. And finally, Team 5 walks in, and it's Wes and Todd Grisham. They're drinking mango juice. This is very specific. The buzzer then buzzes, and the show begins. Everyone's having fun during the game, answering questions and laughing and having a great time. A few hours later, and all of a sudden, Taz gets a whiff of moldy eggs and barfs all over Dylan. Dylan freaks out, runs away, and Taz runs behind him saying, sorry, Dylan. Team 4 gets eliminated. Just then, Todd Grisham farts, I guess he does, and Wes runs to the bathroom gagging, and Todd chuckles, I should probably go poop. Team 5 gets eliminated. 5 minutes later, JBL shits his pants and runs away to the bathroom. Curtis gags and barfs in JBL's cowboy hat, and JBL yells, hey Curtis, it's okay, brother, I have a lot more cowboy hats where that came from. Let me go get everyone a beer after the show. JBL and Curtis are eliminated. Now it comes down to us. Joey, Michael Cole, myself, and Lawler. So Cole and Lawler start bickering and nagging, and let's see. The other commentator is me, and I get in between them and separate them. Cole storms off, says, Matt, I'll be in the car. This is bullshit. And I say, it's just a game. Michael Cole smiles and says, you're right, BFF. And Cole heads out, and I'm chilling with the game show host Steve Harvey having some grape juice. The winner is Matt and Jerry Lawler. And the prize is a Club WWE membership for a week. What do you do? Would you chill with your listeners and watch some classic wrestling in a bar or someone's house? Would you be pissed about the prize? I'll email more random questions this week since this is a very long one, so I apologize. Much love, Joey. Thank you, Joey, and I appreciate your another AI photo of these just insane teams that are just ridiculously implausible. I wouldn't hate if they want to give me a free WWE membership, a club membership for a week. Like, what? Fine. I don't want to pay any more money to this company for something that they should probably be giving us to, like, anyway. I mean, we shouldn't have to pay for something like this, but I wouldn't jump up and down about it. I wouldn't tell my friends about it. I wouldn't create a Facebook status about it. And it doesn't excite me other than just like, oh, okay, well, I got it for a week. Thanks. But what would I do with listeners? Would I watch some classic wrestling? Yes. Here's what I would do. I don't care if we're in a bar or we're at someone's house. I would probably get a good buzz on, throw 6-7 drinks in myself within an hour or two, get a good buzz, and we would just watch anything from like 97 through, I don't know, 2005. For me, that's like my core years of wrestling memory. Not that I don't remember anything after that. There was some great stuff after that. But that's like what really hooked me. That's 6, 7, 8 years of wrestling, and it's not just, the Attitude Era only. I mean, there was some good stuff just before and after the Attitude Era into the Ruthless Aggression Era. So that's what I would do. Thanks, Joey. All right, Curtis. He says, I have really liked the random questions. If you don't mind, I'll give you some at the end of this email. I'll be going to a house show this coming Thursday, August 20th, and I will enjoy the show, but I want to give you feedback. Yeah, cool. Whatever feedback you give will be appreciated. Have you ever done any backyard wrestling of any sorts? Oh, God. Yes, I have. Oh, I have. So before I get to my story, let's hear yours. Your backyard wrestling career. I started when I first discovered WWE in 2007. My brother and I and a few friends would wrestle in my parents' finished basement. I'm giving that detail because they had a lot of couches we used as ring ropes, and there was a fireplace. Surprisingly, nobody ever broke or smashed the glass. That actually is pretty amazing. I don't know what to call myself because I was only 11 or 12. We had a mini king of the ring since there was 4 or 5 of us. We had made the absolute most of it. We didn't pick winners ahead. We just went with it, and I ended up winning King of the Ring. So my name for a while was King Curtis. I used Bobby Lashley's 2007 theme. That was a banger. Yes, it was. After my parents split, my mom rented a very nice place in the country, and we eventually got a trampoline, and as I got older, we made new friends along the way. Don't talk to them much anymore, but that's life, isn't it? It's amazing. You look back and you have these like chapters of your life that truly read like a book, where you have this certain set of friends that you do this with and that with, and you in high school or middle school or elementary school you have this certain core set of friends, and it morphs over the time, and some people leave, some people stay, some of them somehow make it all the way from elementary to college and beyond. I have a few of those, but very few. It's just interesting, isn't it? And these people that you used to watch wrestling or do this play wrestling with, that I had a group of friends that I did that with too, and I will tell you about it after your email. But yeah, I don't really talk to them anymore either. Okay. I eventually changed my name to Curtis Dublin, and my theme song was Curtis Axel's, eventually to being changed to Sheamus's theme, Hellfire. And then my last theme ever was Baron Corbin's I Bring the Darkness. That was the name that stuck with me a majority of my career. Reason behind Dublin was because my family heritage has Irish bloodlines, and it was an option on WWE 13. Oh, yeah, it was. And I thought it sounded great. Plus, it's where my all-time favorite wrestler, Sheamus, is from. I had some great matches with my buddies up until about 21. We knew it was cringy to do all this, but nobody ever saw us, and it was the time of my life. My very last match I had was in 21, 22, around there. I can't remember exactly. Before I continue, and we'll get to the end of the email here. Yeah, it's not something you want to share if you're trying to court a lady. It's not something you want to bring up on a first date at that age. Like when she's like, "Hey, what do you like to do for fun? What are your passions?" Well, so my buddies and I, we got this backyard wrestling federation, and that pro wrestling on TV. Yeah. The fake stuff. Yeah, we do that. Yeah, that is a 100% guarantee to end the date. I mean, that is a surefire way to end the date, unless you are lucky enough to date a closet wrestling fan. And there are some women out there that are very much so. Go to the live events, look at the live events, look at the streamers, look at the podcasters. There's a lot of women, and to be honest, some very attractive that still love wrestling and are closet wrestling fans. But I wouldn't bank on it, and it would certainly not be something that I would share off the bat on a date. So yes, I get it. It does become cringy. I recorded some as well. You're almost mirroring some of my stuff I did as well, Curtis. But okay, back to your email. We filmed some of them, but I don't have access anymore. They were on shitty old tablets. It was my last man standing around my mom's property. I faced my friend named Brandaro Jansaro. It happened to be my favorite match of all time I ever had, and here are some of the highlights in that match. We had a bit of a buzz, so I wanted to make it look like my friend was bleeding. I ran in the kitchen and grabbed a bottle of ketchup, and he was selling his spot. And I ran out and doused his face in ketchup. He legit got mad, but he kept in character. Later on in the match, my mom had a creek behind our trampoline where it was, and he threw me off the bridge, but the bridge was 6 feet high, so nothing crazy. Still funny, though, and still somewhat risky. The finish was him underneath this old water pump from 100 years ago. I knew it still kind of worked, so I had the idea to try to use it on him. I was pumping it like crazy about 20 times or so until brown rusty water splashed all over his ketchup face. He got up from the shock, and I hit him with my finish, the Dublin kick, which was literally just a brogue kick. It was a 35-minute match. Oh my God. That's pretty impressive. Wrestling is exhausting, so good for you. I have plenty of in-depth stories if you're ever interested in hearing more. I just wanted to give you a quick recap of my career without taking too much, but yeah, let me know. Okay, before we get to the random questions, I love how we refer to these as our wrestling careers, first of all. The word career is doing a lot of work there, and I can speak for myself on that. Yeah, I mean, so good stuff. I can picture this. Backyard wrestling, and I'm 41, so back in 2007, I was 22 years old. So I was a good 10 years your senior. But it was still a time where backyard wrestling in the mid-2000s, it really peaked in the early 2000s, late 90s. But even in where you were doing it and when you were doing it, it was still kind of cool to do. If you had friends that liked wrestling and wanted to emulate it, we threw caution to the wind. And it seems like you did too, did not pay attention to those "don't try this at home" advertisements and pleas from WWE, where they would talk about how injuries are real and don't do this at school or anywhere. And of course, I was doing it in school. I was doing it everywhere. I mean, I wouldn't say I had a career of wrestling. I've been in a wrestling ring twice in my life, and people don't realize how unforgiving the wrestling ring is. But if you find that group of friends that just want to fuck around in school, it's a blast. Yes, you can get hurt. I remember getting choke slammed at school, speared at school. I even hit a stone cold stunner for real, like real, not a play stunner. I tried to actually use a stunner on a kid that I was wrestling in 8th grade, amateur wrestling. So we had, the real amateur wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling. He was a much bigger kid than I. Nice kid. And, I nonetheless, no one knows what I'm talking about. But during the match, I was in 8th grade, and that was 1999. So Stone Cold was at the height of his popularity in 1999, as hot as you can possibly be in the wrestling industry. And I remember hitting a stunner on him, and he kicked out at 2. I almost got the pin after that, which would have been really funny. But that was the start of it. And then through high school, it was just a disaster. And I mean that in the best way. We actually had a federation called ESW, East Side Wrestling. And I won't name any names for the sake of anonymity. But I had some friends, a few, where we would record it. And we didn't have tablets. You were talking about tablets. We had something called a camcorder. I had an 8mm tape. It wasn't VHS. It was like those mini DV tapes where you could get like a mini camcorder from Best Buy. That's what I had. I still have it here with me somewhere in my house. And it's all still on tape. All the shit that we did. We put a mattress out in my buddy's backyard, king size mattress, and that's what we would wrestle on. And we had a little entranceway, music. I had a fog machine, so everyone got fog in their entrance because why not? My character was essentially just a rip-off, complete knockoff of Stone Cold. I even took a knee brace from this girl that actually had a knee injury, and she's like, you need to bring this back. And I was like, yeah, no problem. And so she was using it for her actual injured knee, but it mimicked Stone Cold's knee brace. So I took it. I never gave it back. I don't know what I did with it, but I took it just so I could have it. And she's like, I kind of need that. I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I just fucking kept it, and I cut off some jean shorts, and I made a shirt for my name. And if you're wondering what my wrestling name was, it was Powerhouse Paul Christian. That was my wrestling name in high school and into early college. I stopped about when you did. I was like 20, 21, where it got like, yeah, it did get a little embarrassing and cringy. And honestly, just not even that, but just life takes over. For me, I mean, I was going away to college. I stayed local, but then I went down to coastal Carolina, which is down in Myrtle Beach. A whole other story, whole other topic, whole other life. Definitely could dive into that, but I was there. I'll leave it at that. And so just life takes over, and then wrestling kind of gets put to the side. I never stopped watching, but the physical part of it and messing around and giving people stunners, which I would do in school, and giving people stunners at school dances. I mean, it was a shit. It sounds insane. I don't know how I didn't have so many girlfriends. It's just it's a mystery to me. I should have had girls crawling all over me. I mean, what girl would not want to date a guy that would and does deliver Stone Cold stunners to people in school? I mean, it just that's a sure sign of a chick magnet. Oh my God, I've got so many girl stories I could tell you. But anyway, and there is a video out there, and I won't say where or how. Somebody could easily probably find it. It exists. And I made a My Sacrifice video. Remember when WWE did the My Sacrifice videos with Creed? And it was an awesome video. You can find it anywhere. I think YouTube has it. Where it was essentially like a don't try this at home, but they made it really emotional. Stone Cold was in it. The Rock was in it. I mean, like all the big names. But I made a version of that. I used to use a Power Director program on my computer to create promo videos for the pay-per-views. Here are the air quotes that we'd have. And so it's on my little 8mm tapes here. I have them in the house. I'd love to transfer them to like a flash drive or something, because it's just 20 years ago of my life wrapped up into a little bottle. And so, yeah, I mean, geez, that's 20 years ago. God, it goes fast. But that was my life for a while. And you know what? I really don't regret that because it it delayed me getting into like partying and drinking and that kind of stuff. I mean, I know some people now get into it so much sooner, and most people are not most people, but the trend has been for people to drink less and smoke more. So it's not that we're a more sober society. I think we're just transferring the use of alcohol to marijuana. So it's not better. But anyway, it in the mid 2000s, drinking was like at its peak. I feel like, especially with the millennials, and so it really it hindered me, which I don't regret. I think people today, their innocence is taken too quickly, not just with alcohol, but with sex and everything else. Like, you know, especially having the whole world in your pocket nowadays with your phones. But I don't regret it because it allowed me a few more years from like 18 to 21, where, or really more 16, 17, 18, 19, where I was just kind of like so wrapped up in wrestling and video games and just friends and hanging out and capture the flag and shit that I would do. And, you know, just getting into girls. Yes, I wasn't, you know, I wasn't gay. Not there's anything wrong with that, but I wasn't. I was definitely into girls and had girlfriends here and there, but it was much more just wrestling. I even brought in my PlayStation 2 and had the expander on the PlayStation 2 that allows you 6 players to play. And I'd bring in 6 controllers. I'd bring in SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, which was really SmackDown 4 on the PlayStation 2. I'd bring in WWF No Mercy on the N64 into the senior lounge. Senior year was just a fucking blast for high school. It was just awesome. While, you know, everyone else is playing sports and my parents are like, so what do you do with your time? I'm like, well, listen, Ma. You know, I had this really great cage match today. It took me longer than normal to beat Johnny, but I finally did that. What do you think, Ma? I won the Intercontinental Championship on SmackDown. Okay, when's dinner ready? So, yeah. Anyway, good shit. Random questions. This is turning into a much longer show than I thought, but it is what it is. What's your favorite cheap beer? Yours is Pabst Blue Ribbon, but my go-to here in Canada is one called Moosehead. Moosehead isn't the cheapest or the most expensive, just kind of a middle. I think I had Moosehead when I was in Montreal, although Montreal, I've got some good and very bad memories there. Another topic for a different day for sure. But my cheap beer, I have if it's my go-to now, I mean, I love a Coors Light. Miller Lite's okay too. Bud Light I'm not a big fan of. It's okay. I'll drink it if need be. Busch Light is not my favorite, but I have a soft spot, and it's only because this is my first beer I ever got drunk off of, was Natty Ice. Natural Ice. And Natty Light and Keystone Light. Those were like, when I got into drinking in my late teens, very late teens, and more into my early 20s, that was like my go-to. We'd pick up a 30 rack of Keystone Light or Natty or whatever and just, you know, go to town. And we create like pyramids of beer cans and shit. And but yeah, now I wouldn't want to drink Keystone, but really like Coors Light's fine. What's your favorite Simpson character? Mine has to be Homer. But then the other mains, I have to say Principal Scott. I never watched, well, I shouldn't say I never. I don't really watch Simpsons. I don't have a favorite character because I never got into it. I don't dislike The Simpsons. It's just never a show that I looked at and I'm like, oh man, I got to see what happens to this week on The Simpsons. I know it's still going. I just never got into it. I'm more of a Family Guy, Rick and Morty. That's kind of where I live right now. I live Rick and Morty, and if you say, oh, Rick and Morty's stupid, you haven't really given it a chance. Rick and Morty, it's up for Emmys, and you don't get an Emmy by accident. And Rick and Morty, and I'm not here to plug the show. They're not sponsoring the show, obviously, but Rick and Morty is such a blast to watch. It's a stupid show, but it's a stupid show that's super smart. Because and you may say, how is that possible? It's a show that it's about nothing. It's about garbage topics, and yeah, there's profanity and blood and everything, but the script is so intelligently written that it's almost relatable, and they have really funny moments, and I love it. All right, anyway, what's your favorite show growing up as a kid between 5 and 10? Yours were the early 2000s SpongeBob. I'm gonna say Power Rangers. I mean, it's hands down for me, Power Rangers. I mean, that was my first love before wrestling was Power Rangers. In fact, I still watch clips to this day. And yes, the original Power Rangers, not in space or anything else. I really, after they went turbo, like, I think I got to like season 3 or 4 because they went from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to like Zeo, and then like that's kind of after Zeo I started to fade off, which was like 1996, 1997, which of course is when wrestling took over my life. But Power Rangers, hands down. Lastly, what's your favorite dessert? I'm simple. I love vanilla ice cream, plain vanilla or French vanilla. Specifically, a brand here in Canada called Kawartha Vanilla Ice Cream. It's a company that's in North Ontario, and I'm from Dutton, which is a small town near London. It's almost 2 hours from Detroit. Love the pod. Sorry for the long email. Great as always. So thank you. And these questions are fun. It's good shit. I mean, I love this stuff. I love wrestling, but sometimes it's nice to kind of peer out and talk about other stuff. Favorite dessert? If I could design one that would get my dick hard, oh man. Boy, I hope the kids aren't listening. I'm sorry, guys. I would say, okay, I like chocolate. Vanilla's good. I don't mind a vanilla cake. Vanilla cupcakes are fine. But I would say like a warm chocolate chip cookie. I could eat those any time of the day, multiple times a day. Or a warm brownie out of the oven that has a slight crunch, not a burn taste, but like a slight outer edge crunch with a scoop of vanilla ice cream on top. That would be my ultimate fantasy of dessert. I want to be clear, it's dessert, even though it gets my dick hard. All right, so thanks, Curtis. Oh, what the hell kind of show is today? It is very interesting. CM Punk is now back in the news, and it's not for a great reason, I have to say. I know that some people don't mind this shit. I think it is stupid. I think it's not becoming of a world champion, much less the champion in the company. Let's face it, Punk's belt is the belt that is superior in the company. It is the top belt. I know Roman's carrying the world title, this championship with all the lineage it carries and how many times it's been merged and split and all the rest of it. It is the belt. Now, CM Punk was on a recent NXT house show, and you may be saying, wow, it's an NXT house show. Who gives a shit? They can do what they want. But here's the difference. This isn't 1997 where they put on your tickets for the show, no laser pointers, no cameras. I mean, the laser pointer thing is still true. I don't know anybody that's buying laser pointers anymore. In fact, I'm getting in deep shit over laser pointers in school. I remember how popular they were, but everyone's got a fucking phone. So they know that even house shows now are truly, while they're not televised per se, are going to go out to the internet on blast. So what happened was a interaction between Micah Lockwood, who looks like a man trapped in somewhat of a skin suit of a woman that resembles, I mean, she is a hybrid person. I mean, if there's anybody that it would somehow be able to cross genders, and I don't believe there is, because you can't supersede biology based on your feelings. Okay, it's just not possible. But if there was one person on this earth that could, I think Micah Lockwood would be patient zero for that. Yes, she looks like a man, but has some qualities of a woman. Like, she has the longer hair, and she's got some kind of boobs that resemble female breasts. And look, I'm not trying to shame her, but hey, she's in the public eye voluntarily. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this is not odd. She looks like a dude. She's jacked more than I would say most, not most, but a lot of men on this earth. She's probably stronger than. She's a freak of nature. She's like China if you bought China on like Temu. Like that's kind of who she looks like in a way. She's the knockoff version of China, except if there was a knockoff version of China, I would find her much more attractive than I would Micah Lockwood. Anyway, that's beside the point that she looks like a dude. Okay, everyone knows that. It's very disturbing almost. Anyway, the part I don't like, Punk is in the ring with her. There's a moment on this non-televised event where he's flexing against Micah Lockwood. They're standing face to face. They're flexing, they're trash talking, and of course it doesn't end there. Micah ends up hitting a move on Punk because of course she does. I mean, her legs are just tree trunks for a woman. She ends up powerbombing CM Punk, almost giving him a last ride. And it ends the match. And CM Punk ends up taking a move from her, and it ends up with a brawl. And of course, Punk can't retaliate, doesn't retaliate. The women should not and cannot, and in my world, would not ever be able to do anything to the men that the men could not do to them. They're all about equality up until the point that they have to face consequences, of course. And even in this created, fabricated world of pro wrestling, where we all know that everyone's actually trying to protect each other, we're still not allowed, even in a sense, this dream world, we're not allowed to have the men retaliate because they don't want the bad press for it. Of course, it's all absurd and very feminist driven. And while we want equality. We're stronger than men. We don't need no man. Okay. So if you want to be like a man, then you're going to get treated like one. And that's, of course, not the philosophy they adopt. It's kind of like the feminist woman who you may know in your life or have seen from a distance who says, I don't need no man. And yet they'll demand that the man pay for them at dinner and hold their door and practice chivalry and buy them gifts. And yet they don't need no man. Well, which is it, sweetheart? Which one is it? You can't have both. You can't say you don't need a man and you're a strong, independent boss bitch. And at the same time say, well, yeah, I'm all that stuff, but also I need a man to support my lifestyle. Yeah, fuck that. I'm so glad I'm not in the dating world. Feminism has fucked this world. And yes, I'm blaming feminism on this whole thing because that's the cause. That is actually the fear, too, of WWE not allowing the men to ever retaliate in any scenario ever. Never. They're just allowed to bend over and say, hit me as hard as you'd like. There will be zero consequences. It's absurd. Everyone, again, even in the real world, there's more protection for men than in this fantasy dream world. Isn't that absurd? In the world that, you and I live in that has real consequences for breaking laws, there is more protection and consequence for women there than in a world that actually has no worries about that and you're actually trying to protect the person you're working with. Figure that out. So I think this is, yes, retarded. Uh-oh, I said the word. No, oh no, I said the magic word. Hopefully I didn't cast a spell. But it is retarded that you have this philosophy that WWE, again, is reinforced by TKO, but was in existence prior to that with the Vince McMahon era. Because they know the backlash that awaits them from these feminist groups and the pitchfork mob. They're going to come from them and talk and say mean words about the company, how they promote domestic violence. No, you guys are all about equality, right? I thought you were all about equity and inclusion. Yeah, up until the point that there's any kind of consequence, even ones that are completely made up in pro wrestling. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So this is stupid. It is unbecoming of WWE or professional wrestling just generally. And you had a female wrestler put down your top guy. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, somebody out there is going to say, oh, it's not televised. Yeah, tell that to the 10,000 people in attendance or however many thousand were in attendance that every single one of them has a high definition camera in their pocket and instant access to the internet that you know this is going to be posted on immediately. So shut up. We all know that it's truly not televised in the traditional sense, but for all intents and purposes, every WWE event, whether it has a television camera streaming to the USA Network or Netflix, is actually televised. So there you go. Hell of a show tonight, guys. Jesus Christ, what a show. I'm all hyped up now. Now it's late for me where I'm at, but I'll be doing a video tomorrow, probably covering this Micah stuff. And I'm interested to hear what you guys think. Send me those random questions. I love talking about shit that's not just wrestling. And as much as I love wrestling, I've been doing this for 12 years now with my podcast. I would say that I do enjoy the occasional detour into other topics about life and talking to you guys and hearing your thoughts and your experiences, because as wrestling fans, we can bond over that. But yeah, it's what keeps us together. But life, I think, has more in common than we think with our experiences. So, all right, that'll do it for me. I will be back on Tuesday with your your Raw review. So stay tuned for that. A video coming to those on Patreon tomorrow, and maybe some surprises in between. So that'll do it for me, everybody. Enjoy, and we'll talk soon.